5 children were gone. The house burned, but no bones were ever found. This is the story of the Sodder children, a Christmas Eve mystery spanning decades. We will unravel the strange events before and after the fire, exploring the unsettling clues that suggest a far more sinister explanation than a tragic accident. Prepare for a tale of vanished lives and a family's relentless search for the truth. Fayetteville, West Virginia, 1945. George and Jenny Sodder, Italian immigrants, lived a quiet life with their 10 children. Christmas Eve was usually a joyous occasion filled with presents and anticipation. But this particular night would shatter their world, leaving an indelible scar on the small community. The Sodder family home, a 2-story wooden house, was alive with holiday spirit. 9 of the children were home that night. Marion, the eldest daughter, and her younger brothers, John and George Jr., had plans to go out, while the 5 youngest were already asleep. Earlier in the evening, a strange incident occurred. A woman called the Sodder home, asking for a number George Sodder didn't recognize. She had a peculiar, almost mocking laugh. Jenny dismissed it as a wrong number, but the call's timing would later become chillingly significant. Around 12:30 a.m., Jenny Sodder was awoken by the phone ringing again. She went downstairs to answer it, but the line was dead. As she returned to bed, she heard a loud thud on the roof, followed by a rolling sound. She thought nothing of it, attributing it to the cold and the lateness of the hour. Less than an hour later, Jenny was jolted awake once more, this time by the smell of smoke. The Sodder house was on fire. Flames were already engulfing parts of the first floor, trapping the children sleeping upstairs. George Sodder, alerted by his wife's screams, desperately tried to save his children. He managed to get 4 of them out of the burning house. Marion, Sylvia, John, and George Jr. escaped, but 5 children, Maurice, Martha, Louis, Jenny, and Betty, remained trapped upstairs. George's attempts to re-enter the house were thwarted by the intense flames. He then tried to use his 2 coal trucks to reach the second-story windows, but neither would start. Both had worked perfectly the day before. This inexplicable malfunction was the first in a series of baffling anomalies. The neighbors, alerted by the commotion, gathered but could do little. The local fire department, located just 2.5 miles away, was slow to respond. It took them over 7 hours to arrive, by which point the house had been reduced to ashes. As the sun rose on Christmas morning, a horrific scene lay before them. The Sodder home was a smoldering ruin. The fire chief, Morris, quickly concluded that the 5 missing children had perished in the blaze. But George Sodder refused to believe it. Morris stated that the fire had been hot enough to cremate the bodies entirely, leaving no trace. This seemed plausible at first, but George, a former heavy equipment operator, knew better. He insisted that some bone fragments should remain, even after an intense fire. Within days, a small handful of bone fragments were found in the ashes. A local funeral director examined them, concluding they were human vertebrae. This seemed to confirm the fire chief's theory. But then, an unsettling detail emerged. The fragments were too large to be from children aged 5 to 14. Experts later determined they were adult lumbar vertebrae, showing no signs of exposure to fire. This immediately cast doubt on the official conclusion. The Sodders, tormented by the thought that their children might still be alive, began their own investigation. They repeatedly questioned the fire chief's quick judgment and the strange lack of physical evidence. Their grief turned into a desperate resolve. Further investigation revealed that a local man had seen someone throwing fireballs at the Sodder house just before the fire started. This eyewitness account, however, was largely ignored by authorities, deepening the family's suspicions. Another crucial detail involved the ladder. George Sodder always kept a large ladder against the side of his house. On the night of the fire, it was missing. It was later found in a ditch 75 feet away, suggesting it had been moved deliberately. The telephone line was also cut. While this could have been caused by the fire, it's a detail that aligns suspiciously with the earlier, strange phone call and George's trucks failing to start. Were these all coincidences, or part of a coordinated effort? The Sodders also faced threats before the fire. A life insurance salesman had warned George that his house would be burned down and his children destroyed due to his anti-Mussolini sentiments. This chilling threat seemed to gain new weight after the disaster. The family even hired a private investigator named C.C. Tinsley. Tinsley discovered that the fire chief, Morris, had admitted to the Sodders he found a human heart in the ashes, but had been instructed by a local official to keep quiet. The heart, if it existed, was never officially reported or examined. This suppression of evidence, combined with the other inconsistencies, painted a distorted disturbing picture of a cover-up. The Sodders began to suspect foul play. Over the years, the Sodders pursued every lead, no matter how small. They put up billboards with their children's faces, offering a reward for information. These billboards became a poignant symbol of their enduring hope and relentless search. Years after the fire, Jenny Sodder saw a newspaper photo of school children. One girl, she swore, was her daughter Betty, aged 8 at the time of the fire. The child in the photo looked remarkably similar, sparking a renewed surge of hope. There were other sightings. A woman running a tourist court between Fayetteville and Charleston claimed to have seen the Sodder children a week after the fire. She said they were accompanied by 2 men and 2 women of Italian descent. Another witness, a woman who had been at the Sodder home shortly after the fire, claimed she saw the missing children in a car passing by. She swore they were alive and well, but her account was dismissed. Perhaps the most compelling lead came in 1968. Jenny Sodder received a letter from Kentucky. Inside was a photograph of a young man, approximately 30 years old, with a note written on the back, Louis Sodder. I love brother Frankie. Illo boys. A 90132 or 35. The man in the photo bore an uncanny resemblance to Louis Sodder, who would have been around 30 years old at the time. His eyes, nose, and hairline were almost identical to Louis's childhood picture. The family hired another private investigator. The investigator traveled to Kentucky but never returned with any concrete answers. The Sodders suspected he had been paid off or intimidated. The trail went cold, leaving the family once again in agonizing uncertainty. So, what truly happened to the Sodder children? One theory suggests they were victims of a local mob. George Sodder was known to be outspoken, and there were rumors of his business connections potentially crossing paths with organized crime. The threats, the sabotage trucks, the cut phone line, and the missing ladder all point to a deliberate act. The fire could have been a diversion, allowing the children to be removed from the house before it was fully engulfed. Another theory involves the earlier phone call. What if the woman on the phone was a scout confirming the family was home before the plan was executed? Her strange laugh could have been a signal or a taunt. The fireballs seen thrown at the house could have been incendiary devices designed to start the fire quickly and create chaos. This would explain the rapid spread of the flames and the inability to save the children. The adult bone fragments found in the ashes could have been planted there to mislead investigators and confirm the narrative of the children perishing in the fire. This would be a deliberate and cruel act of deception. My own theory leans towards a targeted kidnapping, likely connected to George Sodder's political views or business dealings. The careful planning, the sabotaged vehicles, and the suppression of evidence strongly suggest an orchestrated plot. The children were likely taken from the house before the fire became uncontrollable, perhaps through a rear exit, and then transported away while the fire served as a convenient distraction. The fireballs could have been a signal or a part of the initial ignition. The consistent sightings of the children, especially the letter and photograph received in 1968, lend credence to the idea that they survived. The kidnappers may have raised them under new identities, explaining their sudden disappearance from all records. The motivation could have been revenge or leverage, intended to silence George Sodder or exert control over him. The perpetrators underestimated the Sodder family's resilience and their unwavering determination to find their children. The Sodder family never gave up. Jenny wore black for the rest of her life, a constant reminder of her missing children. The last surviving Sodder child, Sylvia, continued to advocate for answers until her passing in 2021. The case of the Sodder children remains officially unsolved. No definitive evidence of their deaths in the fire was ever found, and the intriguing leads of their survival were never fully resolved. What do you believe happened at Christmas Eve? Share your theories in the comments below. Backhand index pointing down. If you're captivated by the unexplained and the mysteries that haunt our world, make sure to subscribe to Mind Unlocked for more in-depth documentaries. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next investigation.